Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank all of our panelists today for your hard work. As a representative from Connecticut, I have to say, the folks I represent are concerned. And we're talking about thousands of people in my district who ride the lines every day to get to work. And so it is in our shared interest for their safety and also for the integrity of the system. I mean, when we talk about numbers of deaths, confidence in the system is vital. So I want to start in part with that, and again, extend my congratulations to you, Ms. Feinberg. You've been exceptionally responsive and helpful, and I hope that the Senate moves rapidly on your confirmation. There's been a lot of things that have been talked about at today's hearing, and I want to make sure we're getting clarity on the record, and particularly because of this issue about positive train control and lines owned by Amtrak, as well as all the other lines that we have passengers riding on, particularly in the Northeast Corridor. Is there anything else, and this is for you, Ms. Feinberg, that is needed to get positive train control on all portions of the Northeast Corridor, regardless of who owns the track? We know we've got funding for and a commitment by Amtrak to meet that, but we have lines owned in Connecticut substantially, a bit in New York, a bit in Massachusetts. Is there anything else in terms of funding or authority that is necessary for that?
Well, in terms of funding, there are funding struggles throughout the system on PTC. In terms of authority, we are concerned that some railroads will miss the deadline and that we will then lack the authority to force them to implement interim measures that will raise the bar in safety between that moment and when they actually have PTC implemented. We've asked the Congress for that authority. We think it's appropriate. If the deadline is going to be missed, we want to make sure that railroads are taking steps to raise the bar in safety before they implement PTC fully.
If you can follow up with us on the specific authority you believe you need. I have commuter lines dropping down from, say, Danbury, dropping down from Waterbury, through New Britain, through Meriden. These are really important for us to check.
We will do that.
Also, if you can, following up on the question from Chairman Schuster, and it's a similar question, is there any action you need from Congress or authority to follow up on evaluating the safety of these curves? Obviously, we want to get high-speed rail in, and if we're getting derailments that is well below what, say, the Acela that I take from time to time is running, is there additional authority that you believe you need from us to make that possible?
I don't believe that we need additional authority on the curves. Amtrak has supplied us with the curves that they're focused on. We're taking a look at that list. We will go back and forth with them and make sure that we agree on the actions moving forward on those specific curves. We are continuing to work on next steps that go beyond Amtrak on curves and speed, and we will have more to say on that in the coming days. I think there is, going back to Chairman Schuster's question, some frustration that could more have been done following the Metro North incident. Again, I'm not sure that comes down to authority so much as, as regulators, we have very few tools, and the tools that we have are sometimes blunt instruments. And so emergency order authority is incredibly narrow and can't be as broad as we want. Safety advisories are recommendations. They don't have to be followed. And the rulemaking process takes years. So.
Thank you. And for you, Mr. Boardman, I have some concern, given the importance of these accidents, that so much emphasis is being placed just on PTC. I'm looking at billions of dollars in infrastructure upgrades, and in particular, if you could talk about how are you going about prioritizing the bridges that are 100 years old and more, that the Northeast Corridor runs across these bridges every single day, and what, if any, help, in addition to the additional funding, which I joined my colleague and not only seatmate but adjacent districts with Mr. Maloney, that we need a lot more funding to address this backlog of infrastructure, which is also safety. If a bridge goes down when a train is attempting to cross, that is also a safety concern. Can you talk a little bit about the prioritization?
Certainly. I think one of the most important things that occurred was in the PREA Act, the commission that was established in the Northeast of all the states, the Federal Government and Amtrak, to look at what projects needed to be done, what the backlog was, and how we needed to prioritize for the future. And a lot of that conversation that's occurred has really identified the projects that need to be done. A lot of them bridges, tunnels, the major impacts that we need to get done. They have been identified. In one particular case, we have ready to build the Portal Bridge, which would be about $1 billion project. So our priority is there for these infrastructure improvements, which will also improve safety. It's in place.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Zeldin, you're recognized for 5 minutes.